Nebraska beats Northwestern 28-21 and moves on to 3-1 in close games in 2025 under Matt Rhule. After a 24-6 beatdown by Minnesota, and a Minnesota team that I and many others said was not that good, and I think they proved it by losing to Iowa 41-3. Plenty of Nebraska people in my circle, both content creators, dedicated, knowledgeable fans, casual fans, felt as if the sky were falling. Before I continue, liking the video, watching the video all the way through, and commenting your thoughts down below are the best ways to support the channel, as they help push me into the algorithm, help me to receive a larger paycheck that I can use to reinvest in producing elite analysis for you all. Subscribing to the channel, hitting the notification bell, sharing the video around, and supporting us in other ways that you can find out via the description are other awesome ways to support our operation at College Football with Sam. We are becoming the best. We want to be the best. Thank you all for making that possible. And that very bad things were about to happen. And by very bad things, that is Nebraska language for losing out, or going 6-6 again, or maybe finishing 7-5, but not reaching the 8-9 wins that many Cornhusker fans wanted, or the college football playoff appearance that many analysts predicted and that Matt Rhule said himself was their goal for this year. The ultimate goal was reaching for and competing for the college football playoff. Well, I don't know if Nebraska standing at 6-2 right now and being 3-1 in one-score games, with all three wins coming against, a good Cincinnati team, a below-average Maryland team, a below-average Northwestern team, and the one loss coming to a Michigan team that's top 15, maybe top 10. I don't know if that, with the final four games against USC, which is a game I'm excited for, we'll be previewing that and even doing a deep dive for it, traveling to UCLA, traveling to Penn State, and hosting a really good Iowa team. I don't know if Nebraska can get through that four-game gauntlet and go to the playoffs. I wouldn't predict that to happen. But a win here is a win, as Nebraska now has back-to-back seasons where they are bowl eligible for the first time technically since 2015 and 2016, but the 2015 team had a high APR and got lucked into a bowl berth because there weren't enough 6-6 teams to fill up the bowl spots. So if we're counting that out, because that's also how Rutgers got to a bowl game in 2021, this is the first time Nebraska's had back-to-back bowl-eligible seasons since 2013 and 2014, the final 2 years of the Bo Pelini era. Matt Rhule has done a lot for this program. He has fixed, I would say, the infrastructure. He has fixed the culture, that's for sure. In terms of coaching, in terms of punching above your weight class, I would love to see more from Nebraska. I don't think they are great, let alone good, at doing either of those things right now. But when Northwestern outgains you, when they're controlling the ground game, when it's 21-21 and Dylan Raiola throws an interception to Mac Uline, Northwestern's best linebacker, and your defense steps up, they get an interception, you then go down the field with a 6-7 minute drive that ends in a touchdown, and your superior QB play, your special teams with a kickoff return for a touchdown to open up the second half, and little things like that win you the game at home. And you respond to adversity with a win. That's big for a program like Nebraska. People will mock this, but Nebraska is not Ohio State. They're not Oregon. They're not Indiana. They're not even Michigan, USC, or Iowa at this point. They have a ways to go. And I think that this game, the Minnesota game, and really every game since their first three have showcased a bit of that. We're finding out more and more who this Nebraska team is. I think that they are a good team. They are not close to great, let alone elite, or in that, uncomfortable limbo between great and elite. The near elite teams, where Penn State was stuck for ages under Franklin until, the disaster that was this year happened. Nebraska, they had 2 turnovers. Northwestern had 2. Northwestern actually outgained Nebraska slightly in total yards, passing yards, and rushing yards. TOP was pretty equal. The backbreaker in this game was really that kickoff return for a score. That was the backbreaker here that helped the Cornhuskers along to a victory. And a big one at that, because if Nebraska didn't win this game, I do not think they would be going bowling. That's for sure, with the remaining schedule they had. Northwestern, before Saturday, was the easiest opponent, probably by a mile, given time, location, given the placement on the schedule, the date, the time, the kickoff was going to be their easiest opponent. If they could not beat this team, there'd be a good chance they would lose out. But they didn't. They won. They have some momentum back. The USC game is a night game in Lincoln. USC's coming off a bye. I think both programs are going to sell out for that game because, well, they have to. Kenneth Williams, ultimately, I think he should be the player of the game, because without that kickoff return, I think Northwestern wins. I'm pretty sure they win without that special teams effort. At the end of the day, even with the missed field goal, it was special teams and Mike Eckler's unit, which is easily the best unit in terms of overperforming expectations in the entire country. Nebraska bringing in a kicker in Kyle Cunanan, who was never elite, and having a true freshman punter, and their lack of excellent tradition on special teams and how bad it was last year, going from Foley to Eckler, and within 1 year the special teams unit has flipped. That's phenomenal stuff right there. And that unit I would credit to winning Nebraska 2 games. Now, with Ed Foley's special teams, they probably lose to Michigan State, and they probably lose this game to Northwestern. And at that point, you're talking about a Nebraska team that finishes 4-8 or 5-7. So, special teams is important, guys. I mean, just ask Iowa and how they win the games that they do. For Northwestern, it's tough because this was also one of the more winnable games on their schedule. So, their losses now are to Nebraska in a close game and to Oregon and Tulane in blowouts. Their wins are over an FCS squad, UL Monroe, Purdue, with close wins over UCLA and a Penn State team on the road who quit. At USC is going to be a chore on a Friday night. Do not think Northwestern will win, but this is a scrappy team, so you never know. Playing Michigan at Wrigley Field, hosting Minnesota, playing at Illinois. These are things that could go Northwestern's way, but they're going to be an underdog in all of their remaining games except for maybe the Minnesota game. This was a win that they also needed if they wanted to go bowling for sure. They can still pick up a win. I'd expect them, based on what I've seen out of Minnesota for the whole year, that Northwestern would win that game even before yesterday happened. And I thought Iowa would win that game by double digits, but my goodness, 31-0 at the half. We'll talk about that game too. But Northwestern is a good rushing offense. The defense is schematically solid and they're disciplined, but you can tell they're not very talented. And offensively, they're a mess at quarterback, at wide receiver. They're really just an offensive line and running back offense. That's what they are. And that played well against Nebraska's weaknesses up front. That's why Northwestern was able to run the football the way they did. I mean, Komolafe, underrated speed and burst. Northwestern had 172 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, and averaged 5.7 yards per carry. Preston Stone only took 1 sack, too. That offensive line did a really good job yesterday. But when Preston Stone, who in Northwestern's losses has thrown 9 interceptions and 0 touchdowns, I mean, he's pretty bad. When you have that quarterback play going up against Dylan Raiola, who didn't have a good game yesterday either, but he is miles ahead of where Preston Stone is, and you're playing on the road, it's really tough to overcome that. And speaking of the Cornhuskers, they have a lot of overcoming to do as well, because in terms of matchups and in terms of the quality of opponents you're going to be playing for the rest of the year if you're the Cornhuskers. You're underdogs to USC. I think the early line is like 4.5 or something similar. At UCLA after that USC game, when UCLA has a bye and it's not Deshaun Foster trying to figure things out during the bye, it's Tim Skipper, who is a better, more Big Ten quality head coach. That's an interesting and nerve-wracking 2-game stretch. You then have a trip to Happy Valley, playing at Penn State off the bye. That's going to be difficult solely based off of matchups. Penn State's more talented than Nebraska overall. They'll have a bye. Maybe they'll have quit by then if they haven't already, but I can't imagine they're going to be playing worse than they are right now. And then Iowa at home. Iowa's a horrific matchup for Nebraska in the same way that Iowa was a horrific matchup for Minnesota, and you just saw what happened. Their trench play is among the nation's best. They just like to play bland football. Their brand is bland offensively, especially when they have a big lead like they did at the half. Defensively, they're nasty. You can't run on them, and the only way you pass on them is if you have an NFL quarterback and you have really good receivers, which in the Big Ten leaves Indiana and Ohio State for sure as teams that would usually beat them, even if it was in Kinnick. And then Oregon is even pending. Iowa should, if everything we've seen about Oregon is who they are and there isn't much potential or juice to squeeze out left, Iowa should compete with Oregon. That's how good of a team Iowa is. So the road to the playoffs, the road to winning more games is going to be very tough. And that is why a win today was absolutely critical for Matt Rhule and the Nebraska Cornhuskers. At the end of the day, I thought that Nebraska played well at running back in special teams. Emmett Johnson and special teams really were the difference makers. And their linebackers and their defensive backs did overall a good job at defending the pass, at reading Preston Stone's eyes and making plays off of that. For Northwestern, their offensive line, their running back group, their entire defense played well. Nebraska only allowed 1 sack, and I think that is a final positive for the Cornhuskers, is their offensive line stepped up. They did a much better job protecting Dylan Raiola. I thought Raiola did a better job maneuvering in the pocket and being aware there. And when Raiola has a semblance of awareness in the pocket, he goes from being just a good quarterback or a talented quarterback to a great quarterback and someone who can help win you games. Thanks for watching this video. Make sure, if you haven't already, to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, comment your analysis and thoughts down below so I can reciprocate my thoughts with you in the comment section, and check out anything on these end screens that are up here, whether it's a recommended video or playlists for teams that I'm talking about in a preview, prediction, or a reaction. Make sure to hit the notification bell on those, scroll through them, and watch any suggested videos if you are interested. Thank you for helping college football with Sam become the best and the biggest college football brand and channel on YouTube and other social media platforms. We will reach that one day because of your support.